Come lay them down at the foot of the cross. Jesus is waiting there with open arms. You see his open arms. God so loved the world that he gave us his one and only Son to save us. Whoever believes in him will live forever. The power of hell forever defeated. Now it is well. I'm walking in freedom. For God so loved the world. Praise God, from whom all blessings flow. Praise him for the wonders of his love. Praise God, from whom all blessings flow. Praise him for the wonders of his love. God so loves the world that he gave us his one and only Son to save. For God so loved the world that he gave us his one and only Son to save us. Whoever believes in him will live forever. The power of hell forever defeated. Now it is well. I'm walking in freedom. God so loved the world. So bring all your failures, bring your addictions, come lay them down at the foot of the cross. And Jesus is waiting. God so loved the world. I searched the world, but it couldn't fill me. A man's empty praise and treasures that fade are never enough. Then you came along and put me back together. And every desire is now satisfied here in your love. Oh, there's nothing. Oh, there's nothing better than you. There's nothing better than you, Lord. There's nothing. Nothing is better than you. I'm not afraid to show you my weakness, my failures and flaws. Lord, you've seen them all, and you still call me friend. 'Cause the God of the mountain is the God of the valley. There's not a place your mercy and grace won't find me again. Oh, there's nothing better than you. There's nothing better than you, Lord. There's nothing. Nothing is better than you. Sing that again. for ashes. You turn shame into glory. You're the only one who can. You turn graves into gardens. You turn bones into armies. You turn seas into highways. You're the only one who can. You're the only one who can. Oh, there's nothing better than you. There's nothing better than you, Lord. There's nothing. Nothing is better than you. Oh, no, there's nothing better than you. There's nothing better than you, Lord. There's nothing. Nothing is better than you. You turn graves into gardens. You turn bones into highways. You turn seas into highways. You're the only one who can. You turn graves into gardens. You turn bones into armies. You turn seas into highways. You're the only one who can. You're the only one who can. You're the only one who can. Oh, there's nothing better than you. There's nothing better than you, Lord. There's nothing. Nothing is better than you. Sing that one more time, wherever you are. Oh, there's nothing better than you. There's nothing better than you, Lord. There's nothing. Nothing is better than you. Oh, how beautiful is your love for me. Oh, what joy is mine in this mystery. I will not fear the dark, here in the presence of your heart. Oh, how beautiful is your love. Sing, oh, how wonderful. Oh, how wonderful is your offering. Lamb laid down for me on compassion street. How could I turn away from the mercy of your face? Oh, how wonderful is your love. is your love. Jesus, oh Jesus, oh how beautiful is your love. Sing, so miraculous, so miraculous is your sacrifice. Body broken here that I might have life. Take everything I hold. Let me be yours alone. So miraculous is your love. Oh, Jesus, Jesus, Jesus. Oh, how beautiful is your love. Oh, Jesus, Jesus. Oh, how beautiful is your love. Sing that one more time, Jesus. Jesus, Jesus. Oh, how beautiful is your love. Jesus, oh Jesus, oh how beautiful is your love.
Jesus, we thank you for your love this evening. We thank you for your beautiful love, your matchless and unchanging, unfailing love, God. We pray that you would be glorified through this offering of worship tonight, Lord. We pray that you would lead us in that direction every time we get up in front of a congregation, a group, Lord, or even when we're on our own, that we would lead in a way that is pleasing and glorifying to you, God. We thank you so much for this time together, even if we aren't physically together, Lord. We praise your name and we thank you for all that you are. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Jesus, how beautiful is your love. How can we turn from the mercy of your face? What great words in light of our Bible studies regarding face-to-face interactions with Jesus. And as we've studied these four people, and just regular people with all kinds of different backgrounds and stories, and just it's been an incredible thing for me just to be thinking about when you think about the diversity alone in the four people that we've been talking about. When you look at Zacchaeus and the centurion, and these two women, the woman at the woman at the well, and then Mary Magdalene. It really is an incredible diversity. These people don't know each other. They're from all walks of life, all kinds of social status, all kinds of background stories, and yet they have one thing in common. They could not turn away from the mercy of Jesus' face. And Nick and I were talking last night after it was all said and done, and just what does it take for us to change? What is it that I've been we all gone on these million-mile diet, diet journeys, back and forth, up and down, around the bend, and the truth is, nothing works until you're ready to change, until you face something that is going to require you to change. And what is it that really causes us to change as people? And I think what we're discovering in these stories is it's that face-to-face experience with Jesus. And I think we're going to have a great conversation with Bandmaster Nick Symons-Smith tonight regarding some of his face-to-face encounters and what that means for us and where do we go from that. Nick, I want to thank you personally for agreeing to take part this week and share your heart with us and point us in the right direction. And it's been wonderful, and I look forward to talking to you with you a little bit tonight. I don't know about you, Nick, but it's helpful for me if people are willing to open up their screens a little bit.
Yeah, I want to see people.
Yeah.
As long as you're not picking your nose.
Yeah.
You might be doing something else, but it'd be nice to see your faces.
There's Anthony. Happy birthday, Anthony.
Hello. Thank you.
And there we go. That's good seeing everybody. Excellent. Nick, talk to us a little bit about where you're at, what's going on in your life.
In general, it's always busy in the Symons-Smith house, and I have a beautiful wife, 2 beautiful boys, a job that I'm very fortunate to have that I love, and a nice church to go to worship at. So life is good. So Sing About It was a song in the songbook. But I have a small group that I help run, which is very helpful to me, and also an accountability group with 2 other guys where we call in every Monday for an hour to talk about life, and I find that incredibly helpful and centers me. And some weeks we always report on how is your soul, and some weeks I say, it just was a tough week, or I didn't get to dig into the scripture this week. And then other weeks you're on top of the world and you just sense the Holy Spirit moving. The song that you'd chosen was already chosen by someone else on Sunday, and you really see Jesus in that. So I'm doing well, and even though it's been a crazy year, I have felt close to the Holy Spirit and felt close to the Lord. Not every day, always on top of the world, but certainly I think this has been beneficial to me.
Are this accountability team that you have, are they people in your core or people that you work with? What's going on?
One is
there?
in my core, one is not, but they're both Salvationists. And we're all guys, and we're all the same age, and we have wives and kids. So we're at a similar place in life. And I found that really helpful because I think, Andy, we share some similarities, but one of them might be that we're not incredibly disciplined type A people. Like Josh Powell is really good and measured, and everything is organized. And I'm not like that. I'm a free spirit. I'm a type C or Z, and that's not always helpful, but I found I needed the discipline of making that Monday morning call every Monday at 7:30, has really been helpful and beneficial in my life.
That's excellent. One of the things that we were talking about, I think that you said to me last night that has stuck with me, and I think it's kind of going to steer our conversation, is that our life really is not made up of one face-to-face encounter with Jesus, but many encounters with Jesus. And I think the truth is, that I've thought about it, even these 4 people that we've studied, if they only had one encounter with Jesus, that is good, but I don't think that's going to sustain anybody. And so as you sent me a list of these encounters that you've had that I want to kind of talk you through a little bit, that was what kind of stuck me. I walked away thinking that the truth is we can't rely on one singular encounter with Jesus, but our life is really made up of multiple encounters. Talk to me about that 7-year-old Nick Simmons, or was it Nick Smith? I think it was
Nicholas Smith. And they used to call me Knickers Whiff was my nickname, which is a bit unfortunate. But when I was young, I'm a 5th generation Salvationist, so I grew into this, and I was very proud to be a part of the army. I would say up until I was 16, I was a very good Salvationist and a very shallow Christian. But I remember being at a 7 and going kneeling at the penitent form and giving my life to Christ for the very first time. And then going to school the next day and saying, I'm in the army. I'm in the army. And my friends would say, no, you're not. No, you're not. Yes, I am. I'm in the Salvation Army. And then thinking when I was 14 or 15, being absolutely mortified to go carol playing at Christmas and be seen wearing a uniform and be a Christian. But certainly when I was 7, I felt the Lord very close to me and felt that I needed to give my life to Christ. And what's interesting is I now see that in my boys. And my eldest son had a very real encounter with Christ 2 summers ago with the Jesus Theatre program, which I think you have in Oklahoma. Maybe you were one of the first to do it, actually. And it was all about the arrows of your life and where they point you. And it changed his life. My son is very stubborn. We think eventually it might be a good thing because he's pretty driven, but it can be frustrating too. But those barriers came down that one summer, and he has been a different young boy. And I think that was true for me as a youngster too. And I don't know what it was like for you, Andy, your first experience getting saved or meeting Christ.
I think I remember more the first time that I started to really think about becoming serious as far as becoming a Christian. I'm one of those guys, just like you, I think, where I was surrounded by it. I mean, I think I had multiple times at the altar. I really struggled, I think, as a lot of Salvationists do, with the idea that every time you screw up, you got to go down there and get resaved. And I had a number of those experiences. But it was actually, for me, it was in my early teens at TMI. One of the years my dad served on staff, and I can't remember exactly why, but I felt completely wrecked and felt like this was it, and it was led to, and my father came down and prayed with me, of course, and I think that was when I really began to seriously think about my life as a Christian. Do you remember was there someone who led you at 7 years old or were you drawn there yourself? How did that work?
Yeah, my YP band leader, I was very fortunate in that musically and spiritually, he was a huge influence on me. I think we got to meet him when the band went across to England, and he was a very impatient man and not always an exemplary Christian, but he loved his kids and he was spiritual and he would proper devotions. And I remember him sitting in the chair. Of course, I joined the YP band at 7, and every night he would get there an hour early and welcome everybody in through the door and say, how you doing? And he led me to Christ that day, and very meaningful, because I think there was a time where I thought music leaders, well, they do something different. Officers do this, maybe your YPSM does that, but not a music leader. Surely you don't pray with those people. But I did, and he had a big impact on my life, things that were to follow later on.
And I assume that was not just that salvation experience, but that gentleman was involved in your life as in a discipleship role probably as well. Am I right in assuming that?
Yeah, I mean, the thing for me, it's a little bit sad really, but my parents were divorced, and this is not unusual now. It was a little bit more unusual back then, but they had an amicable divorce. So they were friends, and I would go spend the weekends with my dad, who was a fine trombone player and conductor, actually. And a lot of people in the corps who were men stepped up and took an interest in me. And I have to say, I wouldn't be here today were it not for those men who stepped up and checked in on Nick and gave me opportunities I might not have had, and that was to be an important part in my life in the years to follow.
For me, again, same kind of thing. We're music leaders. Of course, Dr. Richard Holtz has always, still to this day, is a strong, important member of my mentor team, if you will. We play next to each other in the territorial band, but I would say he certainly has been the rod in my life, the disciplinarian. He has had some tough conversations with me over the years, and sometimes, most of the time, I didn't like it too much. But as I think back and reflect back, I think the truth is he's made such an impact on so many young people in this territory, and his own beautifully odd way of dealing with young people. But it's so sincere and it's so true, and he's not afraid. He was never afraid to get down and keep you accountable. You know what I mean? And I've always loved that about him. But then on the other side was my songster leader at Atlanta Temple, David Hanson, who still to this day is incredibly important in my life, as a very thoughtful and a much more gentle soul as far as guiding the young people. And he was a Core Cadet counselor as well for a while, which was interesting. Very thoughtful guy, and just his relationship with Christ is a very beautiful thing, and he more displayed that than shoved it down anybody's face. And but it is interesting, isn't it, Nick, how I think we all have, and we certainly have officers in our lives that are important too, but when you grow up in a corps with strong music leaders and you're a musician, they speak your language, and those are the people. And I'm so grateful to have, and I want to be that kind of leader where I keep things in perspective and understand the role of discipleship as much as music leadership.
And
I know
Andy, let me just say, there's no question you are, and we've seen the fruit of that in AOK over so many years, and it's been a beautiful thing. I'm interested to know for you, were you a young Christian? Did you have a prayer life that was fervent, or were you just, because the worship experience in the community at Atlanta Temple when you were young was amazing, wasn't it? But what was your Christian walk like when you were a teenager?
Probably not very good. I probably I wouldn't. I'm trying to think. You mentioned something interesting. You were a good Salvationist, but probably not a very good Christian.
Yeah.
And I think that the truth is that was probably the case for me too. I remember distinctly another weird little thing, and I actually remember a revival at the school that I went to that I rededicated my life at DeKalb Christian Academy, DCA, in Atlanta. I'm trying to look to see if there's anybody else on this screen that might. Yes, Nick experienced DCA. They had a weird. Josh, were you ever? No, you never went to. Okay. They had a weird split up in my 11th grade year, but fortunately we moved to Shreveport, Louisiana that year, which was an interesting time. But that was my senior year in high school. I moved from a very sheltered Christian school to a very worldly secular school, and had to figure how that looked, and made some stupid mistakes and all that. But I was very fervent about my Christian beliefs. And those of you that know me know that I am compelled sometimes to take stands on things. I don't know why, and sometimes I walk away wondering what in the world I was doing. But for some reason, I have this compulsion to stand up when I feel like something is not good. And I remember being told in that Christian school by a Latin teacher, actually, that because she found out that I had not been baptized, and so therefore she told me I was going to hell because I hadn't been baptized. And I had another teacher a little bit later on, a history teacher, down the same road, saying that that I was not saved because I had not been baptized, and that he believed so strongly that once you were saved, that you were going to be saved for life, to the point that he felt like the Lord would literally remove you from this earth before he would allow you to fall into a sinful life, that he would literally just take you home. And I remember being so adamant, so angry about this. I actually left the class and ran up to the principal's office and said, I'm not going anywhere until you call my father. And a very quiet ride home. And I got home, and my dad, and I look at Anthony because I laughed. My dad gave me a handwritten stack of papers this thick about Salvation Army doctrines, and said, "Son, it's time for you to understand that other people may not always believe what we believe. But you need to know what we believe and why we believe it." And I laugh because Anthony got a study on Romans from my old man a couple years ago that was handwritten and was that thick. And it's good to have people in your life like that. But I was probably more fervent than I was serious, if that makes sense. I liked a good fight. I would stand up for things. But I'm not sure that I was living the life that I probably should have been living, or thinking the way that I should have been thinking back then. How about you?
Yeah, I'm with you. I think we grew up in a similar vein, and I was at the core 6 days a week, and on a Sunday all day. It was my life. But I came to America, and my first youth councils was in 1998, probably before Jerry Pope was born, probably. And no, the theme was "Get Real," as kind of the slogan of that year, 1998. But the people knew their scriptures, and they had scriptures on their T-shirts. And this was so foreign to secular United Kingdom. We didn't eat and breathe that stuff. I guess perhaps the 91, thanks Jerry. Maybe the music was more important than the scripture. It was out of balance, out of whack a little bit. So when I came to America, I was really pleased that more emphasis was put on learning scripture. And of course you can go to Publix or Kroger and say God bless you, or say a scripture, particularly in Atlanta, which is still very much Bible Belt. And it's not, people don't look at you weird. If you did that in the UK, they'd think you're crazy. But I think that was true for me in my youth. Yeah. And then the other thing I was going to, sorry, Andy, you go ahead.
No. You might be segueing yourself into this.
I was just coming on to say, I think the other moments in my life, and this may be true for you, came at crises, where I think I saw Christ very clearly. And I think it was kind of a shift in my life that was quite dramatic. And it's a shame that it comes to that, and that we hit rock bottom, or, our world is falling apart. But sometimes it is the best thing for us, for God to reset and say, you're on the wrong path. Let me turn you around. And that was certainly the case for me.
Yeah. Certainly a lot of self-inflicted wounds, I think probably for both of us, where we've experienced the mercy of Jesus' face in a very real way. We got less than we deserved when it comes to certain things. There's no doubt about that. Lots of self-inflicted wounds. What makes me mad, Nick, is I still have self-inflicted wounds.
I know.
And I feel like, man, here I am. I'm married to this beautiful woman who keeps me true as far as my Christian walk is concerned. I've got these 4 incredible children. I've been given the keys to the kingdom as far as a job is concerned, and looking at even now at these people on the screen that the Lord has placed in my life. Yet I still do stupid things, and yet God's grace is still prevalent in my life, and I don't know what we would do without God's grace, Can
I tell you about 2 situations like that?
Yeah.
And I might eat up more time than you would want me to, but let
me
tell
eat away.
2 things. One, many people know of my story when I was 16 years of age, that my father took his own life, which is very tragic and traumatic. And you can imagine huge shift. And I basically chose to live a life for Christ at that point, and to say, I'm not going to be depressed or sad. I'm going to be a positive person. It was a real sea change for me. And of course, terrible circumstance. I would never have wished that to happen. When I look back on it, there is a beautiful part of the story that followed in terms of my mum and meeting someone else who lost his wife to suicide a week after my father. And now they're married and very happy, and all the step siblings get on really well. It's beautiful, but at the time, harrowing. And so that kind of changed me. And I think, again, the men of the core kind of stepped in. But it wasn't the end of the story, though. I went on to make a number of mistakes. And I'm looking at some faces on here, thinking about what age you might be. Maybe you're at college, or you're just past college, or that particular age. And I really did wander during those years, Andy. And I thought it would be interesting for me to confess a sin tonight, some of the people are going to lose respect for me when I tell you this story. But just know that it was 20 years ago, Anthony, all right? It was before you were born. And it was one of the worst things that I've done in my life. And I want to just speak it out to you because it's important, because there's nothing that God won't forgive you for. And I think self-inflicted wounds, Andy, things that happened in our past, I think we hold on to more than we should.
Yeah.
And there's nothing that God cannot forgive you for or heal you from. And this situation happened when I was at college, and I'm afraid to say I was not even a good salvationist at that point, that I dabbled with alcohol and tried to be one of the boys, as it were. And one particular night I was at the pub and quite drunk. It was not uncommon. And a girl walked in front of me, and I didn't think she was particularly attractive. Okay. And I said to her, under the influence of alcohol, and this is going to shock you because a lot of you think Nick's a nice guy, nice stripy shirt, always smiles, this is going to be bad. I said to her, how dare you walk in my line of sight? Mm. Now I'm getting emotional, Andy, and I always tease you about this, but here's mine. Now, a couple of things about that. She was known for a period of time after that as Hideous Linda. And I had a part to play in that. And I often wonder what happened to Linda. And that stray comment, and you maybe thought I was going to say something like I stole money or I smoked cigarettes or, and I did tell my physics teacher to something naughty once. Yeah. But this was the worst thing, one of the worst things I've done, because I don't know what effect that had on that girl for the rest of her life. And as I dealt with an issue of mental health in my family, here was I tearing someone down based upon their appearance. But here's the good news. Although I might dwell on that thought every now and again with huge regret, the Lord has already forgiven me of that particular sin. And that I can be positive about, and I hope that young lady's okay. But I wanted to confess that, purely to say we've all done some absolutely awful things. And I don't want people to think of me as somebody who has got it all together or is perfect. I still make so many mistakes, and yet the Lord comes to me. And in this instance, Andy, a few weeks later, I was on a band trip, and we played The Call, which it features the song "Come Home, Softly and Gently, Jesus is Calling." And I had to leave my seat in the band and go and recommit myself to the Lord during a band piece. If you can imagine that. I should have really waited to the end because I was pretty important on the first trombone. But I had to leave my seat and be with Jesus. And the band sergeant came and prayed with me. And that is the point that I say Nick's life changed forever.
That's amazing. I've heard you tell the story of going to the altar in the middle of that incredible piece, but I did not know the burden that you were carrying with you when you went. That's... Man.
Now, I just say that to you because I think you alluded to it earlier about self-inflicted things or sins maybe you carry for far too long. And I'm looking out at the people here on this group. Maybe there's something you've done, a year, 5 years, 20 years ago, but nothing that you've done cannot be forgiven by this amazing Savior that we have. Would be my encouragement to you this evening.
I think also that you and I both have been... affected. You've already mentioned this tragedy with your father, but I think we've all been affected by the sins of others too, and people that are very close to us and love us, and learning how to offer forgiveness. I think in those circumstances would be another face-to-face opportunity for us to actually maybe display Jesus in our life a little bit. I had somebody in my life very important to me, Nick, who, for all intents and purposes, was gone. That person, I can't imagine that person was to ever return. And I was in a dark place, and I remember, I don't want to get too graphic, but I was in the shower, and prayed to the Lord. I think Connie will tell you, it was one of these, I was probably in there for a couple hours and just prayed to the Lord, if you exist, and I don't recommend this, kids, but I just said to the Lord, if you exist, then this person will return. This person will return tomorrow. And I cannot believe it, but that person returned the next day and has been a part of us for the rest of our lives. And I was filled with joy, of course, but also anger and regret that I challenged God this way. And what would have happened if if the person had not returned? You know what I mean? What in the world would have happened? I don't know. I don't know. But the truth is, I believe that was a miracle in my life. I believe that the Lord performed a miracle, and this is a part of my testimony when I say to people, how do I know that God exists? And I've had people even recently, non-believers, say, well, how do you know? Well, I can tell you how I know. I can tell you because I have been the recipient of God's grace when I didn't deserve it, and I have been the recipient of God's healing when I haven't deserved it, and I've been the recipient of God's miracle working power even when I didn't deserve it. And I've seen it, I have witnessed it, I've experienced it, these face-to-face opportunities that the Lord has presented for me. And I know, Nick, you have been the recipient of those things too.
I have, and in my situation, I felt like I had lost somebody, and the situation was redeemed, and I'm so grateful to the Lord for that. But it was done in a way where a family member who had wandered, who had strayed, was confronted by a Salvation Army officer, and the officer said quite directly, and I'm grateful, this is sin, okay? And that person said, the officer's face melted, and I saw Jesus. I saw Jesus. And this is an officer who sometimes, you know, he's brilliant, but he might rub you the wrong way. But in this instant, they saw Jesus in his face, and it was a beautiful thing, and it was like a light switch. And I think the danger, Andy, is if I don't recall these situations, I could lose faith again, or I forget what God did, you know, and I forget for those months where I was on my knees pleading, you know, change this situation. I forget how he was so faithful and answered every one of my prayers. And then I think I can do things in my own power, and now I've got this now, I don't need to worry, you know. I have to be reminded of the situations when I was desperately drowning and how the Lord saved me.
Yeah. And you don't want to test them too much. And so I think you're right. Relying on the memory of those face-to-face encounters is probably the best. But the truth is, God's grace is overflowing, and we know that the only way we make it is by His grace. And we're going to screw up again. We're going to have people in our lives that screw up again. But you and I know, and I'm looking around this incredible group of people, these people know too, that the only way we make it is by the grace of God and His mercy. This is when people say that, when you hear the guy from the ARC who stands up and gives his testimony and says, the only way I make it is by the grace of God. I want to say, brother, I hear you and I believe you because it's the truth. The only way we make it is by the grace of God. This is it. And there's no easy promises. There's nothing promised to us, is there? That says that this life is going to be easy and it's all going to be roses and we're going to wake up tomorrow and have $1 million in our account and that's just not the truth. There's no truth to that whatsoever. In fact, I think when I read my scriptures, what I see, and as we discussed this week with these 4 people, what I see are people who are very troubled, but rely on the mercy of Jesus. And I think that's the real message for us. Nick,
Well,
you
I
said
want to tell you
something.
about,
Yeah, go
sorry,
ahead.
I want to tell you about two people that were in real trouble. And you can't be in much more trouble than being on a cross and being
No.
crucified. But here were, aside from Jesus, were these two thieves, right? And they're mocking Jesus. That, remember, the soldiers were casting lots and saying, "Oh, I want his clothing. I want this." And they were questioning, like, if you're really the Messiah, then save yourself. And one of the thieves actually said that and was openly mocking him. And the other thief or criminal protested and said, "Don't you fear God? Don't you understand? We deserve to die for our crimes, but Jesus hasn't done anything wrong." And then Jesus immediately said to what the person that we call the penitent thief, as opposed to the impenitent thief, "Today you will be with me in paradise." Now, I just wanted to highlight that because I think I'm driven, Andy, and perhaps to my detriment, about getting to heaven. And I just can't wait. And it's awful because I'll be on a plane with Roberta, who's scared of flying. And she'll say, what if the plane, what's this turbulence? What if we go down? I say, if we go down, we're going to heaven. It's great. And that does not placate her at all when she's flying in the plane. But I'm so excited to go to heaven, and particularly when the world is in such a blessed mess. I'd be happy to go today. I'd love to see my kids grow up and get married and have children, but I'd be happy to be in heaven because it's going to be perfect. And my paradise, Andy, is something like the Caribbean, the sound of cricket in the background, definitely the ocean. Sand, probably laying on a seat with my feet in the ocean, but it's going to be even better than that. And I'm going to get to see Jesus face to face. And there's many times where I say, "Oh my goodness, but what about this thing that I did? What about the thing that I said last week, or the thing nobody knows about that I did?" And he's going to know. And what's that going to be like? But it's going to be amazing. And I think often I'm a little bit too heaven-centered. And I was reminded at a funeral recently where, you know how on the funeral front cover, they'll list the dates of the person, 1918 to 2020 or whatever it is. It's the dash that's important. It's the dash, the life that you live in between those two dates of birth and death. And Randy said it actually in his session, which I thought was excellent. Was that last night or the night before?
That was last night, yeah.
Yeah. And he said, writing music, sometimes it's about the product and sometimes it's about the process. And if I liken that to heaven and these two thieves on the cross, because we want to get to heaven, that's the product, if you like. That's the goal. But there's also something to be said for the process. So sometimes writing a piece of music or performing a piece of music together in rehearsal is all that you needed to do to worship the Lord. It doesn't have to be in front of 1,000 people and they will cheer at the end. And I think it's true for life. The dash is important in what you do with your life. And I'm a little bit too heaven focused because I can't wait to see Jesus, but there's a job for me to do while I'm on this earth. I wondered what you thought about all of that, Andy, and where you stand on getting to heaven and what does paradise look like for you?
Well, I think, honestly, can I be truthful to you? When we were thinking about what you and I were going to do this week, that Eric Ball piece, Songs in Exile, I was on my walk and I was listening to this piece and hear this final hymn that speaks of our final face-to-face encounter with Jesus, which you're talking about. The songs that you live your life in exile so that you can eventually experience Jesus and that face-to-face. That honestly, I thought this was going to be all about is our ultimate face-to-face experience with Jesus. But I think where the Lord led both of us was more in the direction of the dash, which is what you're talking about. The daily face-to-face encounters that we have with Jesus. And sometimes that is through circumstance. Sometimes we experience Jesus through music. Sometimes we experience Jesus through friendship. Sometimes we experience Jesus through tragedy. But I think the intentional seeking out Jesus' face, if we've learned anything this week, that is where the magic is, isn't it? We were talking last night. I don't think that you can have a true encounter with Jesus, whether it be any of these examples. For it to be a true encounter with Jesus, I think there is required change. I do not think that when you encounter Jesus, that you want a good test. Have I truly encountered Jesus? Well, are you a different person after the encounter? If you are, then you really encountered Jesus. And you've got to be susceptible to that, and you have to be ready for that. And sometimes we have changed, but then we pull ourselves back because we're afraid of it just a little bit, and we're afraid of. To be honest with you, just to talk about a little. I'm not sure that I haven't had periods of my life that I have suppressed the movement of the Holy Spirit because I was afraid of who I might become if I allowed the Holy Spirit to work in my life. And so I think that I have even ignored some encounters with Jesus simply because I wasn't quite ready to truly experience, and I certainly wasn't. I don't think that the Lord changes us into different people as far as that is concerned. I think he takes us and he perfects us. He's this working of perfecting us. Some of that means removal of flaws and things in your personality that just get in the way. But I don't think that a real encounter with Jesus is, obviously we know now that a real encounter with Jesus is never going to leave us worse off than it was before. So I don't know why I was always afraid of those moments, but as I'm growing older, I think what I know now is I seek out those encounters and I look for them every day. Sometimes I'm not the best at it, but I look for those encounters with Jesus every day. It could be a conversation I'm having with Connie, who really is such an incredible, whether she knows it or not, is a tool for the Holy Spirit in my life, because I can be very gruff. I can be very agitated. I can, again, going back to that need, that compulsion to stand up for what I think is injustice. Sometimes what I think is injustice may not always be injustice. And I have this incredible person in my life who's like, all right, calm down. Calm down. Let's look at this together. So I seek out these encounters now. And I totally agree with you that it's not that we're not looking forward to our final face-to-face. It's not that we're not looking forward to that reward that we're going to have in heaven. I don't know what it looks like. For me, I think that it's going to be an incredible musical experience. I can't wait to see what Leslie Condon has written in the last 40 years. I really can't. And I just don't believe that ends. I don't think that the Lord gives us, again, going on, I don't think he takes away from us the things that we love, that we've used to communicate with him and to draw other people. I don't think that happens. I think when we get to heaven, we're going to discover that Eric Ball and Leslie Condon and Bach, could you imagine Eric Ball and Bach in the same musical experience? Yet that's what I think we're going to get to experience and worship on that level. And I think they've perfected their craft. I think when you get to heaven, the Lord has perfected that through them. I think, and there will be Jesus. There will be Jesus. Yes, I look forward to that. I absolutely do. But it is not what is going to get me from day to day. It's the daily encounters with Jesus that we have now. I totally agree with you.
Sometimes I'm a practical person, not very often, but I was thinking about, how does this happen? And I know for me, if I can be like super practical and applicable here, going for a walk and not listening to my phone, which is a temptation to listen to music or something, or going to be near water. Now, I guess in Oklahoma City, you don't have the ocean right there, nor do I have that in Atlanta.
Yeah.
But anytime I can get near water, I feel more drawn to the presence of the Lord.
Interesting.
Yeah, it is. And also I get more inspiration if I was writing something. It's fascinating. But going for a walk without any distractions, and it's very easy for me to listen to a podcast or listen to music, but just to listen, because I think if there's something we don't do well in 2020, It's just listening to the Lord. So my encouragement to the young people, the people listening on this Bible study is to seek out the encounter. Don't let it just happen to you by happenstance or crisis, but actually to adjust your life so that you have time for an encounter. And how much more powerful would our leadership of praise and worship be if we have a fresh encounter that day, that week, of the Holy Spirit in our lives? But it does take a little bit of discipline to say, you know, I could watch the show on TV, but no, I'm going to go for a walk. And it might be something different. It might be, you know, whatever it is, just some quiet time. Or
And I think along with that, Nick, wouldn't you agree that just the simple discipline,
no question.
and, you know,
Dig
it sounds like it's like Sunday school answers here, but the truth is disciplining ourselves to get into God's word every day. And I will admit to you, I go through seasons where I'm good at this, but then there are other times when I'm just pathetic at it. And again, there goes this thing where I live with the guilt of not being as disciplined as others when it comes to this kind of stuff. But the truth is, when I am in God's word, I am much better at seeing Christ in others, seeing Christ in circumstances, seeing Christ. When I get away from this, it so goes that vision of Jesus. Be thou my vision, Josh sang the other night for us in such a beautiful way. I think suddenly other things become my vision. And it's so easy, I think, and I know it, again, I know it sounds like a cliche, but it's not. This is so important to us, I think, just to keep us focused on the things that are important, so that when we go on these walks and our minds are focused on the right thing, when we go near water or we go to places where we can discipline ourselves to get away from noise and distraction, then all of a sudden we're drawn to what the Lord has to say for us.
And the other thing I would say, which you've been very helpful to me, Andy, somebody mentioned this, it might have been tonight, it might have been 3 days ago, but how iron sharpens iron. Putting people around you that will hold you to account. I think we're afraid to do that in 2020. We don't want our feelings to be hurt or to be offended. But for me to have this call on a Monday and someone say, I don't think you should be doing that, Nick, or don't watch that TV show, it's not good for you, you know. I think we need that. And it's a bit like my kids don't want to eat their vegetables, but they need to eat their vegetables. And I think we all need to eat our vegetables. And I'm talking about being held accountable in a nice way by iron sharpening iron. And you've done that for me, Andy, and I might have been helpful to you over time. But
you have. And the thing is, what I think I want people to understand is that if we did not love, if people who do this for you don't love you, they would just have nothing to do with you. There would be no need for that kind of relationship, because it just is not worth it. You know what I mean? Believe me, there's nothing fun about confrontation. There's nothing enjoyable about it, but it can be so, especially with those that you love. If you truly love them, then you love them enough to confront and to be willing to be confronted. And that is, boy, that's a vulnerable place, isn't it? That's a tough relationship. But Nick, you're exactly right. I think as our relationship has grown over the years, I think that has been an important part of our relationship, is being willing to keep each other accountable and challenge each other. You know what I mean? I love that.
I got a question for you. I got a challenge for you. Okay, and this might be my last question. What are you going to ask Jesus when you meet him, Andy?
I don't know. I don't know that I think I'm going to be in such awe. You know, I always think about that. Was it C.S. Lewis? It may not have been. I don't remember who it was, but there's the three mysteries that will be answered when we get to heaven. One will be that there will be people there that you did not expect to be there. And then the second is that there will be people there that, or there won't be people there that you did expect to be there. And then the third great one, which I think is the all-encompassing one, is how on earth did I make it?
Yeah.
And I think that is, I think that's the real question is, and I think the great mystery that I've learned to trust and believe, but how I know me, I know who I am. How on earth can the God of this universe love me so much that he would give me the gift of his son.
Mm.
And I think that that's the big question, isn't it? I think for all of us, how on earth did I make it? Because I know me. I know who I am. I know my weaknesses. I know my failures. I know those past sins. I'm afraid of the future sins. And that's the great mystery. But sure enough, I have trust and faith that I will be. And I know, I have confidence. Not knowing why, because I think that's the great mystery. Why in the world does God love us? But I have confidence that I'm going to make it to heaven, and it's the dash, living the dash out. What about you?
I think you said it beautifully. I think it would be all the how, what, when, why. It would be just to fathom, why me? How am I worthy of this? And that's the great miracle. And no matter what we've done, I just want to impress that upon everybody one more time, that there's no sin that you cannot be forgiven for that you've done in this life. So that's my encouragement to the folk on this call. And when you get to 45 or 46, Andy,
Tomorrow, 47.
47, okay.
Yeah.
You don't have your life all put together. It's continual, not struggle, but it's a work in progress until we meet him face to face. I think it will be a work in progress. So if you're a 20-something trying to figure it all out, and Lord bless you, you're trying to figure it all out in the year of our Lord 2020, which is like the worst time, don't give up and trust him. And the one thing my band sergeant said to me when I was kneeling at the mercy seat, he said, keep listening. And he gave me a songbook just a few months later. And in it, he wrote, keep listening. And I think we've all got to do that.
Yeah. Thank you, Nick. Listen, you sure have been Jesus for me on a number of occasions.
And you too for me.
You have reflected Jesus, let me put it that way. And I appreciate that. And I look forward to many, many years of that kind of relationship. And kids, we've got a great territorial music secretary, I'll tell you that much. And we're lucky to have a guy that loves us, not just for the music, not just for that, but he loves us. He loves you. He asks about you. I tell you, Nick and I talk at least a couple times a month, and sometimes more, but at least a couple times a month. And without a doubt, he asks about you guys. He asks you by name. That's incredible that he knows you that way. And we're lucky to have you, Nick. Thank you so much. Josh, thank you for this great week. I appreciate all the hard work that you've put in. I certainly want to say thank you to Jimmy. This is really his weekend or week. It's usually a weekend. It's a tough one to put together. This guy is so good at
Andy. He had a halo on his head earlier today. Did you see that? When the headphones were on, there was a halo.
Saint Jimmy. Honestly, his name in my phone is Jimmy Crack Corn. It comes up, and I didn't realize it. I forgot it was that, and it popped up on the phone in the car the other day. And Wesley was in the back, and he goes, "Jimmy Crack Corn, that's hilarious." And I said, "Son, that's not. I need to take that out." But I am grateful. I'm lucky to have Jimmy as a part of this team, and so I just need to make sure that people understand this really is his success this weekend. Is nobody better at this kind of stuff, and this division. Let me tell you, kiddos, you're lucky to have a Jimmy Cox. We are at the forefront of a lot of contemporary worship because of that guy. He just gives and gives and gives. So y'all just keep taking, all right? And I know that he wants that. And of course, all of you guys, man, keep at it. Keep at it. Do not stop. You're going to have frustrating days. You're going to even feel a little tinge every once in a while of unworthiness, and that's okay. We all feel that. You need to keep at it. You keep working at it. Keep working at your craft. Be the best. Somebody, the Corps officer said. Our Corps officer. Major Farrell said something the other day that was interesting to me. He or to all of us, our congregation, he says, the Lord has all given us all talents. He's given everybody talent. Our job is to work it so hard that it is worthy of the guy who gave it to us. And I think, man, that I want to put that on some kind of a wall, that is what drives us. We are driven to be the best that we can be so that we might be worthy of God who gave us these talents. And I think that's a good way to end it. Face to face, look for Jesus in all that you do. All right, kiddos, love you, and we'll see you on the flip side. God bless you. Take care.
Thanks, Andy.
Andy, happy early birthday.
Now, is Mercy a Camarillo?
No.
Oh, I knew you
I'm a
looked a
Miller.
bit like Ashley. Show yourself, Mercy. I just see the name. I know that we've met before, but
Yeah.
This is Mercy. We have Grace and Mercy. Mercy is quite the lover of classic rock.
great.
She is one of the ones in the division that connects with us on. In fact, I think if you're looking at the wall behind her, this shrine to, well, maybe not. Now it's too small to see.
No. It's
Yes.
for that's for the daycare. It has all of the different
Oh.
people from different countries.
Oh, okay. Jimmy and I thought maybe it was a shrine to classic rock, but she's a fine
She put one up.
guitarist, and she's a member of the newest core praise team in our division at the Sand Springs Core. Her and Taryn and her sister Grace, and is there another? I think that's it. I think it's a
Not at the
trio.
moment. We have Elijah who's going to be learning bass, and Olivia's going to be learning drums.
Yeah.
Great. So, man, they're the three teenagers. Well, Taryn's not a teenager. He's almost a
Andy,
old
I've
man.
known you for 18 years at this point. I doubt you can
Right.
call me a teenager anymore.
Yeah. So anyway, that's Mercy, and I think you know everybody else for
Yeah.
sure.
Tamba, what are you up to these days? Are you behaving yourself?
Yes, I am. I just got a job.
Yeah.
I'm pumped for it. But
Are you showing up to the core every week?
yes, I am, and I'm helping out with Toby, and he's probably working on it right now. But like, he taught a whole master class over doing Facebook live streams, all that, and I'm like his apprentice. So that's pretty
Well, that's
great.
brilliant. That's
Yeah.
brilliant.
It's
That's
really
awesome. I see Jake sitting on the couch with his old man.
fun. Yeah, we're
Where's AJ tonight and Christina?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh, I think they had a date.
But they're married now. They're not supposed to do that.
No.
And have we sung happy birthday to the birthday boy yet?
Hold on. Oh, my bad. Hey, Christina told us last night that she was going to spend today with her mom in Enid because it's her birthday.
Oh, so that was
goodness,
not.
so many
I thought I
birthdays.
saw a picture on Facebook that suggested they were on a date, but I guess
Unless- I don't know if he drove out there or not.
he may have drove out there. Hey,
He has to work tomorrow, so no, he didn't.
okay.
Hey, Talitha, can we get to see you? Or are you in a messy bedroom or something? There you are. How you doing?
I'm good.
Are you? How old are you, Ali?
Huh?
How old are you?
14.
Oh, it must be great to be 14. Isn't it just the best?
Hmm.
Are you dancing?
Yeah.
Yeah, I heard you're doing really well. That's awesome. You keep it
All
up.
day. She dances all day. She's in some all-day program. I can't imagine dancing for 5 minutes. much
Jerry
less.
Poker's doing something funny with his face.
Say, everybody look at Jerry for a second.
I just found all the video filters, so.
If you start looking at Jerry, it's hard to take your eyes off of him.
Dashing young man.
Like a train wreck.
That's brilliant. So, Anthony, you went out with your sister tonight?
Yeah, we got to hang out a little bit. It was really nice. She
Where'd you
came
go?
up.
Anyone else?
Yeah, we went to this place that's across my apartment called Metro Diner.
Nice.
It was really nice. We got some burgers and we got to catch up. She's doing really well. She's going back to in-class school, and I am soon. So we talked a little bit about that, how it's all going to go. We're kind of skeptical about it, but we'll see. It's going to be interesting. I mean, when they all, like, we're in class and there's going to be people there, but also there's going to be people who are not in class. So it's going to be like half and half. So
Yeah.
I don't know how they're going to figure that out.
Weird. In my school, my kids are half and half, and my kids go, and the teachers say the kids that go are doing so much better at the moment. You know, they get that because it's small classes and they get all that attention. I feel a bit bad for the.
I'm looking forward to those small classes. That'd
Yeah,
be nice.
yeah. I saw a picture of you with your trumpet over your shoulder. Looked like a professional, you know, and you look like such a man. You know, which you are. Obviously, I shouldn't be shocked by that, but he's a proper man.
Proper
I mean,
man.
you were taller than me when you were 13, so I mean, I've not got a lot to compare it against, but you look like, you know, this is it. Just remember me, all right, when you're rich and famous and playing on movie soundtracks. Remember little old Nick, all right?
You're flattering me. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Oh, let's see who else is up here. Marcy, you okay? Great that you've joined us this week. It's brilliant. Yeah, awesome.
Yeah. I knew some of our band wouldn't be able to attend, so I wanted to be able to pass it along. And our officers have gone through their coronavirus experience, and so we're separated right now a little bit, and we won't be able to be back together for another couple of weeks. And so do you see this image right here? Do you see that person?
Who's
I
that?
can see.
Can you tell who that is? Step over here, David.
That's
David?
her son David. I can see his reflection in something. That's great.
He's kind of tall.
Let me tell you something, Nick. David's going to be a fine tenor horn player. There's no doubt about it. Oh my God, he is a fine tenor horn player. But,
right.
Yeah. Well, you won't believe this. I'm so disappointed in high school already with his experience. He was all region bass 2, right? The last 2 years. God. Yeah, he is now a tenor 2 in high school.
Oh.
I don't know what they have in mind. I've already chatted with the.
Going the wrong way.
David is going to be one of those guys, Nick, that will be competing with the territorial songsters for the territorial band will be at some point.
Gotcha.
The choir director said, "Don't worry, we have a plan." I don't think he does, but I do think that the freshmen there's no room in the basses for the freshmen. And so he wants to expand, you know, what he's saying is let's expand his vocal ability.
Right.
So
good deal, David. Keep it up.
We sang what was it, David, that we sang at Conservatory last year that you sang one of the solos on?
I remember I sang Hi.
You sang Hi?
What was it?
The name of the number.
Unmute yourself, Tally.
He has no he remembers doing it, he just has no recollection of the name of it.
Do you remember, Tally?
I don't remember. It was something fast, I think.
No, it was from Haydn's Creation. Do you remember?
Yeah.
Mom, do you know?
What was the chorus from Haydn's Creation? Anyway, it's the one that Nick, the big one in the middle, right near the end of the first bit, where they have the three angels that come out and sing, and Tally and David and who was the third?
Katsuo.
Katsuo. Yeah. We're the three. It was pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Pretty awesome. So.
Yeah.
Andy, you may not realize, but your background keeps changing. You've gone.
Oh, I know. I've had llamas, and now I am Freddie. Apparently, I'm Freddie Mercury.
Don't worry, guys. I got pictures of all of them.
The hide and creation thing was the last. It was like the very last thing, the last chorus in the first move in the first part of it, and it was the heavens shall declare.
It's most beautiful appear, isn't it?
The heavens declare, yeah.
The heavens shall declare, yeah. That's
the heavens declare, yeah. Anyway, fantastic.
Listen, before I go, Andy, let me just say what a great job you're doing over there. And as a DMD, I know everybody loves you.
Thank you.
But it's your leadership that makes these things happen. And you're right to point Jimmy out. But I've really enjoyed this week. I was telling Andy, for me, it's lovely to come and do something where you don't have to organize it. Because it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. And so Jimmy and Andy done such a great job. And I've really enjoyed logging on. And I felt spiritually fulfilled, and I've learned a lot, and it's been a lot of fun. So I appreciate you all very much.
Thank you, Nick. It's been good. And everybody put on their calendars October of next year. Let's pray in live events, and let's have this as a live event and get our praise bands back up there. But I think this has been a worthy alternative. Just kind of a like we said, it's just the COVID edition, or the what do we call it, virtual edition. So the DC has been gracious enough to give us this date next year. So I think it'll be an excellent thing. So,
I'm going to write him a quick note tonight.
Jerry thinks that next year we should just go ahead and do it in Jerusalem.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that, Jerry.
On top of Mount Gerizim, we can join the Samaritans in their true worship.
I did like Andy's map. However you drew that map, Andy, it was nice. The water.
That's about as artistic as I get.
Yeah, I know. Well, listen, I'm going to go and I'm going to tickle my son's feet before he goes to sleep. But loved it. I've loved it.
Thank you, guys. Love y'all. See y'all later. Thank you.
Thank you.